After the initial wow moment of first trying a modern VR headset, many newcomers to virtual reality will often comment on how it would be even more impressive if the view of the virtual world wasn't surrounded by an oval of black around the edges. Pimax have been releasing VR headsets over the past few years with a unique selling point of combating the problem of the limited field of view of many modern VR headsets. The 8KX is Pimax's top tier VR headset currently as they gear towards releasing the frankly ridiculously spec'd 12K QLED later this year. I was sent an 8KX by Pimax for a limited time to try out and have spent the last month or so using the headset almost exclusively when playing PC VR titles. I was under no obligation to give a positive review and I was not paid to give any of the opinions in this video. They are completely my own and I've tried to be as thorough as possible when trying this headset. So with that, here are my final thoughts on the Pimax 8KX.
Immersed robot.
So before I get onto some of my impressions, let's just very quickly go through some of the highlights of the spec sheet of the Pimax 8KX. It has two 4K displays at a resolution of 3840 by 2160 per eye, a 90Hz refresh rate with certain other refresh rate options depending on settings, large Fresnel lenses, Steam VR tracking, and of course that huge up to 200 degree field of view, which generally gets reported as 170 degree horizontal field of view on its maximum setting. When I first tried a Pimax headset with the 5K Plus a few years ago, one of the minor points that hit me was the slightly creaky, thin feeling plastic that the headset was made of. It wasn't a big problem, but it felt in some ways that the headset was built on a very tight budget. Lifting the Pimax 8KX out of the box was an entirely different first impression, and the unit felt relatively solid. The KD Mass audio strap, while flexible, doesn't feel like it would break easily at all, and both the face and rear head strap cushions felt nice enough. The strap that rides over the top of the head is similarly high quality, and nothing felt to me as though it would break easily. The power and volume buttons are responsive, and the only part which felt slightly underwhelming to me at first was the IPD slider, which functions with a turning wheel. The response and accuracy didn't feel quite as good to me as many of the IPD sliders on other VR headsets. The lenses are huge and lined with a black fabric material to flex as you adjust the physical distance between them to accommodate various IPDs. The actual fabric cushioning on the face gasket and rear head strap sections of a Valve Index or a Reverb G2 are probably my favourite in terms of comfort, but the cushioning on the Pimax 8KX is certainly not bad. When I first put the headset on, I found it to be noticeably more front heavy than most other VR headsets, which when you look at the size isn't too much of a surprise really. I found I had to tighten the adjustment on the rear of the strap quite a lot in order to get it to feel secure, and not wobble too much when turning my head rapidly from side to side. This is not an ideal way to wear a headset in my opinion, where over tightening the strap like this can lead to fatigue after wearing it for too long, but once it was adjusted correctly I felt like it was balanced and secure enough. I used the headset for a maximum of around 1.5 hours in one session during my month of testing, which is probably the most I usually play VR in one go, and I can't say I felt too much more fatigue in physical comfort than I do in any other VR headset really. Like all Pimax headsets, the PiTool software is required to run the 8KX on your PC. The installation process is straightforward and overall the software feels and runs lightweight enough to not interfere too much. It does have a lot of options to alter the settings on the 8KX and dial in certain things for each user. I'll go through some of these during the rest of this video, but I won't cover them exhaustively. There is also an optional piece of software called Pimax Experience, which offers an in-headset Steam VR style overlay for the user to alter further settings, launch games, etc. The KD Mass earphones which come with this version of the 8KX have detachable on-ear cushioning. Why they detach is beyond me, as they are absolutely vital to make this a viable audio solution, but with everything connected, the audio is fantastic. While comfort will always be preferable on the Valve Index or Reverb G2 solution, the volume and sound range of the KD Mass is exceptional, and I think these give some of the most immersive sounds in a VR headset I've heard. The slight downside of this audio solution is the untidy and visible wiring which runs along the front of the headset. This is only really an aesthetic issue and it didn't affect the end usability of the headset at all. Now we're on to one of the primary reasons why someone might choose this headset over many of the others out there, the visual quality and field of view. One of the things that surprised me when first trying a Pimax headset in 2018 was how I wasn't instantly blown away by the increase in field of view. I thought it was a great addition, but I never felt that moment of awe I'd heard others describe, and I felt the same way about the 8KX if truth be told. The increase in field of view is definitely welcome and in some ways transformative to an overall sense of immersion, but it didn't leave me blown away or looking around at the incredible spectacle before me. That's not really to take anything away from that aspect of the headset, however, and when you go back to using something like the Quest 2, you absolutely notice the decrease in field of view presented before you. And I suppose that's my main takeaway from this aspect. The field of view is a nice increase and I certainly enjoyed experiencing virtual worlds with that feature. But to me it's something I miss not having when it's gone, far more than being something that revolutionises my VR experience when it's there. There are a number of reasons that might affect my impression of that huge field of view, however, and this is where I want to go into some of my main criticisms of the headset in its current form. A lot of the issues I personally have with the display and optical system of the Pimax 8KX is subjective, and I have no doubt will vary wildly from person to person depending on variations in face shape and relative eye position. Among some of these small initial problems I had with the headset was trying to get the lenses close enough together. The IPD range on the Pimax 8KX spec sheet boasts 60mm up to 70mm, and the average human IPD is somewhere in the region of 64mm. My own IPD is around 62 to 63mm, so I'm not too far below the average. But no matter what I did, even on the lowest possible IPD setting, I felt a slight level of discomfort and a feeling the lenses were just that small amount too far apart. Being the slightly ridiculous person I am, I used a vernier to manually measure the distance between the central point of the lenses on their lowest IPD setting and found them to be 69.36mm apart. Even at the closest point of the central ring of the lenses, I found them to still be 63.38mm apart. This didn't seem right, so I looked into this deeper and even got into a discussion with someone on Reddit about this discrepancy, who pointed me towards a write-up by someone who seemed to have the reason behind this. That reason being that because the displays and lenses of the Pimax are canted, the optical path into the wearer's eyes necessitates the physical distance of the lenses being further apart in order to accommodate that smaller IPD as shown here. VR headsets which don't have a high degree of canting on the displays and lenses don't have this same discrepancy because everything can be parallel, therefore the physical distance between the lenses can match the user's IPD exactly. With Pimax headsets, the lenses are required to be slightly further apart in order to accommodate a smaller IPD. I'm not an optical expert as you might have guessed, but having read through that article, which I'll link in the description to this video, some of it seems to make sense while certain other parts don't quite ring true to me. Part of this is that I don't believe the lenses on the Pimax are canted to the same degree as the displays themselves, which could slightly alter the calculation and optical paths spoken about by the author. But either way, the end result of all this seems to point in the same direction. That is, due to their optical design, Pimax headsets are extremely reliant on a wearer's face shape, relative eye position and IPD to deliver a 100% comfortable experience. For example, looking at this image in the article, if the wearer's eyes were set slightly deeper in relation to their face or protruded slightly, then the optical path wouldn't intersect with the centre of the eye correctly. This only really becomes a problem on the two ends of the IPD spectrum. If you are in the middle and have room to spare either way, you can simply ignore the IPD numbers displayed in the headset as you adjust the IPD larger or smaller until it becomes comfortable for you. In my case, I am right on the limit of how close I can get those lenses together, and I have nowhere else to go. The lenses feel like they are still too far apart, and this can result in things feeling just very slightly off and with some eye strain after a while. Having looked into this, it seems some people have even gone to the extremes of modding their headset to allow closer lens placement, which is not something I really want to get into on my lone unit. A potential solution to this predicament is to use the IPD offset tool in the PiTool software. This allows you to alter the image on the displays in relation to the lenses if things don't line up correctly for one reason or another. There are various methods of using this feature, mainly using a reference point such as a VR motion controller and making sure the physical position in real life matches up with the rendered position in the VR world. If it doesn't, then you can adjust the offset until the real physical controller matches the position of the virtual one inside the headset. Unfortunately, this tool doesn't make any difference to the position of the lenses themselves, and this is the part which doesn't feel right in my own situation. While I definitely feel this is a problem for me on a personal level, I also want to make it clear that this didn't necessarily make my Pimax 8KX experience bad at all. There was just this slight feeling of things being off, and by physically adjusting the headset on my head, I could perhaps get one or the other eye comfortable, but not both simultaneously. Other solutions I tried was pushing the headset close to my face, physically squashing the face cushion, and even removing it entirely. And I also tried moving it away. None of these felt like a viable solution to me, although I won't say that with better overall placement options within the headset, such as an eye relief adjustment, it might help the issue for some people. Before I end my criticism, I do want to address the issue of distortion. Once again, this was a big issue back in 2018 when I first tried the Pimax 5K Plus, and it was a major problem when trying to really enjoy that headset. I hated the distortion or image warping on the extremes of the peripheral view. There have always been ways to mitigate this, but I just couldn't get a good solution even on the various field of view options in PiTool. However, this is one of the major improvements I've found when trying the 8KX. It seems that the distortion profiles have been dramatically improved, at least from what I'm seeing. I can't say the peripheral distortion has been completely eliminated, but as someone who is very sensitive to that kind of visual artifact, the improvement is fantastic. Other optical issues aside, the distortion is now not really a problem for me at all. But now on to some of the best aspects of the 8KX in my opinion. The resolution and overall clarity of the 8KX is very impressive as someone coming from a Valve Index. With correct PiTool, Steam VR and in-game settings, it looks and feels incredible in titles such as Elite Dangerous, Project Cars 2 and No Man's Sky. Half-Life Alyx was also great, although I will say that for whatever reason, the peripheral distortion felt more noticeable to me in that title than in something like Project Cars 2. Considering that the huge resolution of the display is split over an equally large field of view, the overall clarity is very good. Getting definitive numbers for the pixels per degree in the 8KX is a little complicated due to the optical system in Pimax headsets differing from some other headsets, as outlined in this Reddit post. However, with all things considered, it seems that overall PPD is slightly higher in the 8KX than in the Valve Index, the former being around 16.8 and the latter being 16.5. Overall, I felt like the visual quality in the 8KX was extremely high, even though on a subjective level I feel like my own face shape and eye position mean I'm on the very edge of being able to get the most out of this headset. When immersed in a title such as Project Cars 2, the experience and immersion was spectacular. By carefully adjusting settings, I was able to get a good balance between visual quality and performance in most titles I tried, and they felt incredible as that huge field of view and clarity ran with nice overall smoothness. The Pimax 8KX is a premium headset aimed at PC VR enthusiasts, and it's an impressive piece of hardware. I had very few problems in setting it up and daily use, although I did find that tweaking settings in individual games is vital to get the most out of it and maximising your experience. The PiTool software is intuitive and didn't give me too many problems. I have to confess that having extra software layers, as many headsets do, made me miss the direct Steam VR integration of the Valve Index. The Pimax very much feels like a headset for those who don't mind tweaking and putting in the extra work to really reap the benefits the headset offers. I can honestly say that after a month of use, I was far more impressed with the 8KX, both in terms of hardware and accompanying software, than I was when I first tried the 5K Plus a few years ago. It's a headset where I feel 95% comfortable in terms of visuals, which, while not ideal, I'm generally happy to sacrifice that last 5% to gain that clarity and larger field of view. And that's the point. I can't really recommend this headset for everyone. Ideally, there would be retail stores to try every VR headset before committing to purchase, but that's not always possible. While I can certainly use the 8KX and get a lot out of it, and a large percentage of people might even get more out of it, I have little doubt that there will always be subjective physical traits in some users which mean that they are never going to dial in their experience 100% due to the limitations in the hardware itself. If that IPD adjustment just went those few millimeters closer, I might feel differently, but I can't say for sure. Perhaps the binocular overlap, which is something I haven't really gone into in this particular video, is insufficient for my eye positions. It's difficult to say. It's almost frustrating to me that I can't say my visual comfort in the 8KX is 100% there, as I've tried so hard to really dial things in. Perhaps that IPD mod some users try will help me too. But when all is said and done, it's clear to see that Pimax have matured as a company and product maker over the years. If nothing else, trying the Pimax 8KX makes me far more excited for the upcoming 12K QLED HMD than I otherwise might have been. The 8KX is predominantly in a category of recommended but with caveats headset for me. If you have the budget, time to tinker and some of the more subjective features which align with this wide field of view solution, then you will get a lot out of it, especially if you like sim gaming. There is a lot I haven't covered in this video, but I wanted to focus primarily on the things I found important as a VR user for many years. I hope you found this informative and helpful in making a decision as to whether you want to dive into the wide field of view world of the 8KX. But with that, thanks for watching and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more VR content. I'll see you next time. Please consider picking up my science fiction virtual reality focused novel, The Memory Engine, a light-hearted tongue-in-cheek adventure through the metaverse, available on Amazon Kindle, paperback and as an Audible audiobook. Links in the description to this video.